So today we will start with the third part of reflexes, that is regarding the properties of reflexes. So there are totally 9 properties are there in reflexes. The first property is one-way conduction, or it is also called as Bell-Magendie's law. According to this property, during any reflex activity, impulses are transmitted in only one direction through the reflex arc as per Bell-Magendie's law. So whenever there is a reflex, the reflexes are transmitted in only one direction. This is called as Bell-Magendie's law. The second property is reaction time. So reaction time is nothing but when you give a stimulus. After giving a stimulus, there will be some time to take that reflex action. So that time interval between the application of stimulus and the reflex, so that time interval is called as reaction time. Then the third property is summation. There are two types of summation are there in reflexes. One is a spatial summation and second one is temporal summation. So first one is about spatial summation. Spatial summation means when two afferent nerve fibers are supplying a muscle and they are stimulated separately with the subliminal stimulus. There is no response, but the muscle contracts when both the nerve fibers are stimulated together with same strength of stimulus. It is called as spatial summation. So when two nerves are supplying to a muscle, when you stimulate them separately, they don't show any reaction, any reflex. But when you stimulate them simultaneously, so they will show some reflex, that is known as spatial summation. Then then next one is temporal summation. Here when one nerve fiber is stimulated repeatedly with subminimal stimuli, these stimuli are summed up to give response in the muscle. It is called temporal summation. So when a nerve fiber is stimulated repeatedly with subminimal stimuli, then it is called as, then that nerve will get a response or reflex, that is called as temporal summation. Then the fourth property is occlusion. Occlusion is, it is mainly demonstrated in a flexor reflex, which is involving a muscle, which is innervated by two motor nerves. These nerves can be called as A and B. When both the nerves A and B are stimulated simultaneously, the tension developed by the muscle is less than the sum of the tension developed when each nerve is stimulated separately. For example, if there are two nerves are there, we call them as nerve A and nerve B. If nerve A alone is stimulated, then the amount of stimulation developed, for example, is 9. When nerve B is stimulated, then it is 9. Then it means the total should be A plus B is equal to 18. When they are stimulated separately, the total amount of reflex developed here is 18. But when they are stimulated simultaneously, A and B, the arbitrary unit of reflex which is developed is equal to 12. So this phenomena is known as occlusion. Then next one is subliminal fringe. Subliminal fringe is nothing but it is exactly opposite of occlusion. So here in some reflexes involving the muscle with two nerve fibers, the tension developed by simultaneous stimulation of two nerves is greater than the sum of tension produced by the stimulation of these nerves separately. So for example, you take two nerves, nerve A and nerve B. When nerve A is stimulated, the amount of tension developed in the muscle is 3. And when nerve B is stimulated, the amount of tension developed in the muscle is 3. So it means when nerve A and nerve B, when they are stimulated separately, the total amount of tension developed is 6. And when they are stimulated simultaneously, the amount of tension developed is 12, which is greater now. So this phenomena is known as subliminal fringe. Then the sixth property is recruitment. Recruitment is defined as the successive activation of additional motor units with progressive increase in force of muscular contraction. It means when you stimulate a nerve repeatedly, so when you stimulate repeatedly, naturally after repeated stimulation, here the amount of reaction which is there, it will go on increasing. So this increase in the continuous increase in the reaction of a nerve fiber when you stimulate it repeatedly is known as recruitment. The next one, the seventh property is after discharge. After discharge is the persistence or continuation of response for some time even after cessation of stimulus. When you stimulate a nerve continuously for some time and suddenly you stop stimulating, even after when you stop stimulating for some time, the nerve will get stimulated on itself. This phenomena is known as after discharge. Then the eighth property is rebound phenomena. This property is defined as reflex activities can be forcefully inhibited for some time, but when the inhibition is suddenly removed, the reflex activity becomes more forceful than before inhibition. It is called rebound phenomena. For example, if you are there in a crowd and you get cough is a reflex, and you try to suppress your cough. For some time you can suppress your cough, but after some time when the cough will come, the cough will be of more and more higher intensity. This is called as the rebound phenomena. Then the ninth one and the last property is fatigue. When a reflex activity is continuously elicited for a long time, the response is reduced slowly, and at one stage the response does not occur. It means when you stimulate a nerve repeatedly for some time, here it will give you response, but after some time it will stop giving you the response, and at one stage there is no response at all. Slowly the response goes on decreasing. This is called as fatigue. So thank you. These are the properties of reflexes.